It's time for Tech Talk on Binjang 91.5 with Matthew Dickerson. Good morning, Matthew.
Yeah, good morning, Tony. Great to be chatting to you again.
Yeah. Now, this is really getting down to it, actually. This first question I've got. How can your toilet help you reach your health goals? Matthew, tell me.
It's an
Bit
interesting one,
personal,
isn't
I
it?
know.
We-
Yes.
We've had some things around this before, Tony, where there's been some work done on fecal matter to, for example, look at COVID-19. So a sewage treatment plant, for example, might look at that to see if there's anyone in the community with COVID-19. But this gets a little bit more specific. You can actually get to the point now where your smart toilet, everything that's technology related has to have the word smart in front of it, but a smart toilet could actually look at your fecal matter and determine your health. So it can actually give you recommendations via an app on your phone. So it can look at your fecal matter and say, it looks like you are lacking in this or you're eating too much of that. Basically give you advice on your diet to try and control your health. And so it's a pretty good idea because a lot of people that might have to assess, for example, how much food they're eating and how many calories they're eating and wear things in their body, they probably don't do it, but everyone has to go to the toilet. So if you can actually analyse what goes into the toilet to give you some health advice, then I think that's something that more people might be likely to do.
Yeah, I wonder if you can retrofit it that easily, though.
Now, it's a whole new toilet and it's actually not available yet. It was shown off at the Consumer Electronics Show, and I've got a few things today around the Consumer Electronics Show, things were shown off there. So it's probably a few months away from being available. So the prototype was shown off. I don't know if they did any live demonstrations, Tony, at the Consumer Electronics Show. But it was shown off there. So no retrofitting. It's a whole new toilet you did have installed. I haven't even got a price for you, but I can't imagine they'd be cheap.
I reckon you should put your hand up for the live demonstration, Matthew.
Well, luckily, Consumer Electronics Show or CES this year was all done virtually, so there wasn't any ability to go and do a live demonstration.
Now, I know that you love singing in the shower, but it's always a bit of a problem plugging a speaker in the bathroom, so what can we do about that?
Yeah, look, I do love to sing in the shower, Tony, you're right. Luckily, no one can hear me in the shower apart from myself, so that's the reason I sing in the shower. But essentially, yeah, we have got this thing where we want some speakers in there, but you don't want to plug into a power point in the shower, or you don't want to go and have to keep recharging the battery and put it back in there. So there's a new Bluetooth shower speaker that effectively uses the flow of water to keep the battery charged inside it. So it's got a battery that will go for about 20 hours regardless, but every day you get in the shower, there's a small impeller in the actual water flow, and that impeller spins, and that's enough to generate enough electricity to keep it going. So wherever you're in the shower, wherever the shower's going, that's putting enough charge into it to keep the actual speaker charged up. Apart from that, it's a normal Bluetooth speaker. It pairs with your phone or pairs with other devices. It's got enough volume for you to be able to hear it in the shower, probably not enough volume to hear it outside in other rooms, which is fine. So a normal Bluetooth speaker, but powered by the water flow through the actual shower head, which is an absolutely brilliant idea.
I can see that there'll be a few long showers now as a result of this.
Well, you're not going to run out of battery power, are you? So you're just going to keep showering.
Keep singing and keep showering, and the next thing, the water conservation people will really be upset.
That's right. I'm sure I've offended someone somewhere there, Tony.
Yeah, now, when you're working from home, happiness is a pretty important thing, because if people are tired and depressed or whatever, obviously their output's not that great. So when it comes to employers, they might be really interested in being able to gauge that.
Exactly right. And the wearables market, we've talked about it before, Tony, the wearables market is exploding. And this, I must admit, is not one of the things that I expected to see in the wearables market. It's a mood beam. The first thing I thought of was those old mood rings that you used to have at school, that someone would have the colour of their ring change and determine their mood, which is all hocus pocus, of course. But this thing's real. The mood beam is basically just a wristband that you put on, and it's got two buttons on there. It's got a yellow button and a blue button. And essentially what you do is you press the yellow button or the blue button if you're feeling unhappy or happy. And then what that gives you is, or gives the employer, is a dashboard of all their employees, and they can see how all their employees are feeling. And the ones that are obviously lower on that scale or unhappy, then they can take some decisive action, make contact with them, maybe actually get someone to go out and visit them. Because people sitting at home working, it's not so easy for employers to gauge their happiness level. They might be a bit depressed, they might be missing the interaction in the work environment. So there's a whole range of things that can be an issue here, and this is one way of addressing them. The depression and anxiety, the estimation before the pandemic hit was that it was costing the global economy about $1 trillion per year. That's US $1 trillion per year in lost productivity. Since the pandemic's come along, then obviously that has gone up dramatically because people are feeling depressed sitting at home. There was a study done over in the UK that said that 60% of adults thought their mental health had gotten worse during the first lockdown. Now that's the first lockdown. Obviously as subsequent lockdowns occur, those numbers probably increase. So this is just a way for employers to keep a bit of a track on their employees, but it could also be used by families, for example, their kids. Teenage kids might not want to open up to mum and dad and say how they're feeling. Having a wristband that was linked to an app, they might be okay just pressing a button on that.
Well, I guess the only problem with this is it will rely on the honours or the honesty system. And I don't know that people that aren't all that happy would want to volunteer that information.
You are right, that there is a failing there. It's not something that can sense how someone's feeling without them actually saying how they're feeling. So there'll still be people who might be feeling depressed but don't want to talk about that, and so they might just press happy for the sake of being left alone. So you're right there, but at least it's a step in the right direction to try and look at the happiness level of employees.
Yeah, I reckon it would increase the anxiety level of employees having to choose one or the other too.
Well, that was the other thing I actually thought, Tony, maybe they needed a third button that, I'm in the middle. I'm not happy, I'm not sad, I'm just okay. I thought that might have been a better button as well to have in there.
Yes, or another button that says, this whole thing's creating a lot of anxiety for me.
Well, one of the things that was pointed out by the manufacturer of this particular wristband was most employers are not going to make this compulsory for their employees. It's something that they might opt into so they don't create extra anxiety.
Okay, all right. And you'll be listening to Matthew Dickinson with Tech Talk on Binjang AM 91.5. And stay tuned this afternoon for our next episode. And in the meantime, it's back to Angela.